My name is Marilyn, and today I'm turning 29. I have a story to tell you about how I became a millionaire thanks to two greedy individuals. Let's just say that karma never fails to come for those who do wrong. The first time I met my husband, Bruce, was on a work trip hosted by our office. We were both heads of different departments in our company and had never met before. During the trip, the organizers hosted many activities, including games and sports. I got injured during a game of volleyball and sprained my ankle. Bruce immediately came to my aid and carried me to the infirmary for first aid. I thought he was very thoughtful and kind and wanted to get to know him better. When we returned from the trip, I reached out to him and asked if he'd like to go for coffee. He readily agreed, and we decided to meet at our local cafe. During our date, we talked about the events of the trip, our likes, interests, and family life. I quickly realized that Bruce and I shared the same taste in sports, television shows, and even hobbies. When describing his family, Bruce mentioned that he had always been incredibly close to his mother, Meg, and liked to visit her at least twice a week. "You know, I've always been incredibly close to my mother," I said. "We make it a point to see each other at least twice a week." "That's sweet," he replied. "I'm glad you have a good relationship with her. What about your father?" "Well, he left us a few years ago and we have minimal contact." "Oh, I see. Is everything all right between you two?" "It's complicated, Marilyn. Let's just say it didn't work out." "What do you mean, didn't work out? He's your father, not your boyfriend." "Yeah, it's just, he wasn't very helpful." "Not helpful in what way? Like financially or emotionally?" "You know what? We have a lot of other things to talk about. Could we please move on?" "Oh, of course, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to intrude. I just wanted to get to know you a little better. We can talk about something else." I didn't think much of it and brushed it off as a sore subject for Bruce. I was sure that as we got closer, he would open up to me about his past. After that day, we met a few times over the next few weeks, even during work. I began eating lunch with him daily, and within a few months we had become incredibly close. Things started to get serious. Knowing his birthday was coming up, I decided to plan a surprise party for him. I reached out to our friends to help with the planning and guest list. Knowing how close Bruce was to Meg, I decided it would make sense to invite her to the party. I was in two minds about inviting his father, as I was still unsure about their relationship. Finally, I decided not to invite him, as I didn't want his birthday to be ruined in any way. The day of the party arrived and all the decorations were done. I left work early to set up Bruce's apartment and get the cake and food for the party. Soon, the guests began pouring in, and everyone was excited for Bruce's arrival. A few minutes before Bruce was supposed to arrive, I saw a middle-aged lady walking to the door. She was dressed in a fancy green evening gown and carried a branded handbag. I walked over to her and introduced myself. "Hello, I'm Marilyn. You must be one of Bruce's close relatives. It's nice to meet you. How do you know Bruce?" "Oh, finally, someone with some manners," she said. "I'm Meg, Bruce's mother, and yes, I'm the most important guest here. He's my son, you know." "Of course, Meg," I said. "I didn't mean to offend. Bruce talks so fondly about you. Please come in and make yourself comfortable." "Well, I should hope so," she said. "I practically raised him all by myself. I hope you've done a decent job planning this party." "I've put in a lot of effort, and our friends have been a great help, too. I hope you enjoy it." "We'll see about that," she said. "Just make sure you don't get in the way of my time with Bruce. He's my boy, after all." "Oh, of course. I wouldn't want to come between you two. Bruce cherishes his relationship with you, and I respect that." However, Meg didn't seem impressed by any of my gestures. She loudly criticized the decorations and began insulting the others at the party. I didn't react to any of her actions and made sure to show her hospitality, as I wanted her to approve of me. Eventually, I heard Bruce's car approaching the house and went outside to greet him. The surprise went well, and Bruce was overjoyed at the effort I had put in. We cut the cake and gave him our presents. Meg demanded to be next to Bruce in all the pictures that were taken, including those that had just Bruce and me. She also declared that her gift was the best and that she was sure Bruce would love it. To my surprise, Bruce didn't stop Meg from causing a ruckus and instead entertained all her requests. He made sure she was always by his side. When it was time to sit down for dinner, everyone took their place at the dining table. Bruce stood up to make a toast and thanked everyone for attending his birthday celebration. He said he had a very important announcement to make and was glad that everyone was there to witness it. Before I could react, he went down on one knee and pulled out a ring to ask me to marry him. I was overjoyed and cried happy tears before enthusiastically agreeing. Everyone cheered and gave us their congratulations. However, I noticed that Meg got up and left the table. "Babe, your mom left the table," I said to Bruce. "Is everything okay? We need to find her and get her blessings. She'll be mad if we don't." "But why do we need to get her blessings? It's our decision, isn't it, babe?" "You don't understand. I always talk to my mom about important decisions. We're close, and I value her opinion. I get that she's important to you, but isn't this about us? Shouldn't we make decisions together?" "Of course we do, but I can't ignore her. She means a lot to me. Can we just go find her and talk to her about giving us her blessings?" I was concerned. No one should be that dependent on their parents, but I let it go because I loved him and wanted his mother to approve of me. We searched for her all over the house but couldn't find her. Eventually, we saw her sitting silently in the backyard. We approached her to ask for her blessings, which she reluctantly gave at Bruce's request. "Mom, I'm sorry I didn't talk to you before proposing to Marilyn. It just happened in the moment, and I thought it was the perfect time." "Well, Bruce, you always discuss big decisions with me. I felt a bit left out that you didn't this time." "I know, and I didn't mean for you to get upset. I had a plan to talk to you the next day, but the surprise party changed everything." "I understand that it was unexpected, but you should have found a way to talk to me before making such a significant decision." "You're right, Mom. I should have found a way. I just got caught up in the excitement, and Marilyn has been so amazing and supportive. I wanted to show her how much she meant to me." "I can see that you love her, Bruce. I just want you to remember to include me in your life, especially when it comes to important matters." "I promise, Mom, I'll work on communicating better with you. You're an essential part of my life, and I want you to be part of Marilyn's and my journey together. That's all I ask for, dear." I decided I didn't need to listen to the rest of their conversation because I was beginning to feel like I was eavesdropping, even though I knew I wasn't. I turned around to walk away, and when I was just a couple of steps away, I heard her tell him how I wasn't good enough for her son and how he should reconsider marrying me. She also said that I wasn't beautiful enough and was only interested in Bruce for his money. I ignored her taunts and pretended not to have heard any of it. In the next few weeks, we began to plan our wedding. Meg never lent a helping hand in any of the preparations. She wanted to make decisions on which dress I would wear and threw a tantrum when I told her that I wanted to choose my wedding dress. She also asked to meet me a few times to tell me that I would be expected to pay more than half of the wedding expenses, as I was lucky to be marrying Bruce and needed to contribute. I didn't take any of these incidents to heart, as I assumed that she would warm up to me once we were married. Finally, after weeks of planning, my wedding day arrived. I began getting dressed in my dressing room, surrounded by my bridesmaids and my mother. Everyone told me how beautiful I looked in my flowing white dress. I heard a knock at the door and saw Meg walk in. To my shock, she was wearing a white wedding dress. "Why are you wearing a wedding dress today?" I asked. "It's my son's wedding day, and it's more important to me than anything else," she replied. "I chose to wear this dress to highlight my significance as the mother of the groom." "I get that it's an important day for you, but isn't it customary for the bride to wear white? It might take away from Marilyn's moment," I suggested. "Well, that's not my concern," she insisted. "Bruce is my only son, and I deserve attention on this occasion too." "Of course, Meg, but today is primarily about Marilyn and Bruce's love and commitment. It's their special day," I reasoned. "I know that, but I'm just making a statement. My presence here matters as much as anyone else's," Meg asserted. I was furious but decided not to cause a scene and ruin the whole day. The rest of the ceremony went well and we exchanged vows and rings. It was emotional for both of us, as we had been waiting for this day for a long time. Hey, pause for a moment. Would you care to support us? Like this video and subscribe for more. Now let's dive back into the story. During the planning of the wedding, I had asked Bruce to handle the guest list. I noticed that he hadn't included his father and asked him if he was sure about such a decision. "Gav, are you sure about not inviting your father?" I inquired. "He had abandoned us and has no place at such an important celebration," Bruce replied. I wanted to change his mind but decided to drop the subject, as I didn't want to upset him further. The next few months after our wedding passed in absolute bliss. We spent every moment together and began planning to buy our own house. Bruce and I had always wanted to live together, but had decided to get married first before making such a decision. We started the process of house hunting and spent a few hours every day looking at options to purchase our dream home. One day, Bruce called me while I was at work. "Hey babe, I'm sorry, but an important meeting has come up. I won't be able to go house hunting with you today," he said. "No worries, darling, it happens. Don't stress about it, I can handle it on my own," I reassured him. "Oh, thanks for understanding. I'll make it up to you, I promise," Bruce replied. "You better. Just focus on your meeting and we'll catch up later. Love you," I said. "Love you too, babe," Bruce replied. After work, I got into my car and began driving to the location of the property. I looked at the profile and saw that the house was on the 10th floor of a building that was still being constructed. I reached the location and met with the realtor, who informed me that another guest had arrived under our name to look at the property. Knowing that Bruce was busy, I was confused about who this person was. To my shock, my mother-in-law was at the door, waiting impatiently. "Why did you come to look at the property?" I asked her. "I wanted to make sure that the house was good enough for my son and that it would have a place for me to stay when I visit," she replied. I didn't want Meg involved, but I allowed her to join me to avoid making Bruce angry. We began the tour of the house, and Meg didn't stop commenting about how shabby the building was and how the house wasn't up to her standards. By the end of the tour, I was very frustrated and wanted to leave as fast as possible. The realtor stepped away to take a call and informed us that he would show us the rest when he was back. He also warned us about being careful, as the house was under construction and could be dangerous. I began walking around and noticed an unfinished staircase outside the house. I didn't notice Meg approaching me and suddenly felt someone kick my right leg. I lost my balance and fell down the stairs. I couldn't move and felt bruises on my arms and head. I looked up to see Meg smiling in victory before she quickly turned around and left. I couldn't understand what had happened and couldn't move for a few minutes. Eventually, I found my phone in my pocket and called an ambulance, which arrived soon. On the way to the hospital, I couldn't stop thinking about the fact that Meg had tried to push me down the stairs to injure me. Since I met her, I had been nothing but nice to her and was sad and angry at her behavior. Once I reached the hospital, first aid was done and I had to undergo a few scans. I tried calling Bruce multiple times, but he didn't pick up the phone. I somehow fell asleep because of the medication. The next morning I tried calling Bruce again, and he picked up the phone. I told him about everything that had happened between Meg. He sounded angry and annoyed and accused me of being a liar. "I can't believe you're lying about this. You expect me to believe you fell down the stairs while being pushed by my mother?" Bruce exclaimed. "I am not lying. I would never do something like that. I fell because Meg kicked me. She deliberately hurt me," I replied, trying to maintain my composure. "You're just trying to cover up your actions. My mother wouldn't hurt you for no reason," Bruce argued. "She said you were being aggressive." "I can't believe you're taking her word over mine. She's been manipulating you, Bruce. She pushed me down those stairs and now she's lying to save herself." "Stop it," I pleaded desperately. "She would never lie to me. She's my mother. I thought you loved me and trusted me. How can you side with her even without hearing my side of the story?" I cried out, feeling betrayed. "I can't come to the hospital right now. Meg's in shock because of what you did and I need to be with her," Bruce retorted, his tone firm. "You're choosing her over me after everything we've been through? You brought this upon yourself. Maybe you deserve this for what you did," Bruce concluded coldly. Feeling devastated, I began to cry and cut the call. I didn't know what to do and spent the next 2 days in grief and shock. Soon my injuries began healing, and I began getting my strength back. My parents came to visit me and were shocked as well at the situation and Bruce's reaction to it. My father advised me to look into Bruce's father and find out the truth about that situation, suspecting Bruce and Meg weren't being honest. As per his advice, I hired a private investigator to find Bruce's father, Albert, and called him. At first, Albert was confused about who I was, but eventually he began understanding the situation. "You know, I divorced Megan and left the house because she and Bruce were using me for my money. I'm the chairman of a big company and Bruce wanted to steal from me," Albert disclosed. "I had no idea. That's terrible. I can't believe they would do something like that, I responded in shock. Yeah, it was a tough decision, but I couldn't let them take advantage of me any longer. I want you to know that those two are never up to any good, Albert warned. Thanks for telling me, Albert. I believe you, and I appreciate you looking out for me, I expressed my gratitude. Now I have a plan to handle this situation. I need you to somehow get Bruce and Meg to visit you at the hospital tomorrow morning, Albert instructed. Why do you want them to come here? I asked, curious about his plan. I need to confront them about their actions and protect you from any further harm. It's time they face the consequences of their greed, Albert explained firmly. All right, I'll do my best to get them here, but please be careful. I don't want anything bad to happen to you, I cautioned. I'll handle it, Marilyn. Just focus on your recovery. Tomorrow we set things right, Albert reassured me. I was skeptical and kind of afraid, truth be told. I didn't want to see either Meg or Bruce. I didn't want to see Bruce because I didn't want to look at the face of the man who doesn't trust his wife over his mother and is so stubborn that he didn't care enough to at the very least check up on her as she lay in the hospital. I didn't want to see Meg because, well, for obvious reasons. I was terrified she would try to hurt me again, but I knew that if I wanted to teach them a lesson, I had to trust Albert. I called Bruce and told him that I had a special gift to give him and Meg to apologize for what I had done. I told them that I would like them to come to take it, as it was very expensive, and I wanted to make sure they got it. Hearing the mention of money, Bruce and Meg readily agreed to come visit me at the hospital the following morning. The next morning, Albert arrived at the hospital with flowers. I greeted him and told him how grateful I was for his help. Just as we finished our conversation, the door opened, and Bruce and Meg walked in. They both stopped at the door in shock and stared at Albert sitting on one of the chairs. Albert, what is this all about? Why are you here? Bruce questioned. I couldn't stand by and watch you and Bruce manipulate Marilyn any longer, Albert calmly replied. Manipulate? We never did anything wrong. She's the one causing trouble, Meg interjected. That's not true. Marilyn has been through a lot because of both of you. It's time to end this charade, Albert asserted. Dad, you're ruining everything. Marilyn and I love each other, Bruce protested. I divorced your mother because of your actions. You were trying to take advantage of me and my company. I was just trying to secure my future, Albert explained. Dad, you never supported me. You know that I wouldn't have given you anything you asked for, yet you still went behind my back and tried to transfer my company in your name. I don't want Marilyn to face the same thing. I have something to make sure it doesn't happen, Albert declared, handing Bruce some papers. What are these? Bruce asked. Divorce papers, Bruce, so Marilyn can finally be free from the toxic influence of both of you, Albert revealed. How can you do this to us? Meg snatched the paper from Bruce and screamed. The paper announced that the $40 million inheritance, which was supposed to go to Bruce, would now go to me. Both Meg and Bruce's jaws dropped. They began loudly arguing with Albert before resorting to begging him to change his mind. Albert told them that they deserved this for trying to hurt someone innocent like me and that they were reaping the fruits of their actions. He then called the hospital security to remove both Meg and Bruce from the room, and they were dragged out. I had gone through hell, but I finally got my revenge and continued to have a good friendship with Albert thereafter. Let's conclude the story shortly. After the dramatic events at the hospital, my life took a turn for the better. Bruce and Meg were out of my life and I was finally free from their toxic influence. With the $40 million inheritance, I was able to invest wisely and build a successful business empire. I used my newfound wealth to help others, supporting charities and creating opportunities for those less fortunate. I also found true love again, marrying a man who truly loved and respected me. While the ordeal with Bruce and Meg left scars, it also taught me valuable lessons about trust, love, and the importance of standing up for myself. I learned that true happiness comes from within, and that I am capable of achieving anything I set my mind to. And so my journey from a sprained ankle to a self-made millionaire was a testament to the power of resilience, the importance of choosing the right path, and the ultimate triumph of good over evil. After experiencing the full journey of our story, we'd love to hear your thoughts. How did the story resonate with you? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay blessed. Thank you for watching and see you in the next story.